It's Tuesday, August 27th, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we'll be covering on today's show. The meatless craze in fast food continues, and if you're in Smyrna, Georgia today, you'll get to try out the latest collaboration between KFC and Beyond Meat. And our own Adam Kazakowski will join the show to bring us all up to date on some big topics in the automotive world, including why the Honda Passport may be the perfect car for the apocalypse. His words. And a great guest on the show with Gina Chung, head of research and innovations for DHL Americas, talking about logistics technologies, robotics, IoT, and innovation in deliveries. And we'll have a block of news showcasing some first-time technological achievements, including a delivery drone that can carry up to 70 pounds at 100 miles per hour. All that and more on today's Digital Trends Live. Portland, Oregon, right there, as usual. Luke Larson.
Yeah, a hot one today.
It is going to be a hot one. It's supposed to be like 90-some degrees today, which means everybody in this city will complain about the heat. That is guaranteed. I guarantee at some point today, someone will make a comment about, gosh, it's hot outside.
Even though we're inside.
Even though we're inside. Man, it's hot. Didn't expect that. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. However you found us, we do appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on LinkedIn Live, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Dailymotion. We're on Apple News. We're on 2 different mobile apps. We're on a smart TV app. We're at digitaltrends.com/live, and probably some more I didn't even mention. Regardless, we thank you for finding us. And since we are interactive, we can join in. You can drop in your comments, your discussions. Shout out to #1 fan Mikey on Facebook. Yes, I'm back. I was gone for one day, but I am here now, and I hope that makes your day a little bit better. So let's just get started right now. To start off, though, I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Luke Larson. Hello, Luke.
Good morning, Greg.
How are you doing today?
Great.
Once again, a different cup. I feel like you've really changed up your look and appearance on this show.
I'm sorry. I'm throwing people off.
I think it's really me. It's just throwing me off. I just expected that mug. And, change happens.
It does.
You have to be able to adapt to it.
It does. I like to keep you on your toes.
You do. And you do every time. Every time that Luke is in here. All right. Let's talk about some news headlines. We have a lot that are going on right now, as usual. And this first one is just kind of a double trending news story about Nintendo. So 2 different things with Nintendo that are trending right now. And the first one is this: the Nintendo Switch Lite hands-on reviews are rolling out across the world, including here at Digital Trends, where Felicia Miranda has had her hands-on with it. And the results are so far that it's awesome. That is really what we're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, to sum it all up, she does it much more eloquently than I do. Awesome. End of article. Move on. No. But no, I mean, so far, reading through her review, she seems to really enjoy it.
Yeah, she called it the best, Nintendo's best handheld console yet, which is a pretty big thing because Nintendo's been on top of the handheld game for a long time now.
Oh, yeah, going all the way back to Game Boy.
To Game Boy, they used to have competitors, and now they pretty much don't. They're just like the only one in the game. So, yeah, it seems like it's pretty awesome. Yeah,
so this one is coming out September 20th is when you'll be able to get your hands on it. $199 is what it's coming in at. Some of the questions, about it were if it was going to be as robust as the regular Nintendo Switch. Is it even necessary to have a Switch Lite? I know that was something that a lot of people talked about. I mean, the Switch itself is already small.
Yeah.
Like, do you need a Switch Lite? And that's what a lot of people are saying. So some of the highlights that she's seen on it, and again, if you're interested in the Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo Switch Lite, let us know your thoughts, what you think about it so far. But to give her opinions on it, so the ergonomic design is amazing. The different color options are great. And one of the key things that I saw here is just as powerful as the regular Switch. Just as powerful.
Yeah, and it's not that. I know it's funny. People are like, "Oh, do they really need a Switch Lite?" Well, no, you don't need both of them.
Yeah.
The idea is that it's for a different markets, for a different group of people out there who don't need all the the cool home,
all that extra stuff that's added on to
it. How it works. If you just want a handheld console, which was always like the thing, is like, oh, Nintendo has kind of crossed the boundary, done this it's like a 2 and it does both. It serves as both a console and a handheld. Now this is just kind of like exclusively a handheld. So
yeah, going straight to that. Energy efficient, has the D-pad is back, which is, I think we all know the D-pad. That's pretty cool to have that back.
It is cool, yeah.
And yeah, so far the play's just been amazing. So that's the reviews that we're getting on it. We'll probably have Felicia on here this week to talk about her experience with it. But her article is up right now. So the hands-on review is up at Digital Trends, and this is definitely a trending topic throughout the world of technology right now because it's been highly anticipated. So this is going to be out in, less than a month. You're going to be able to get your hands on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for $199, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, and again, because it's just as powerful as the normal Switch. You can play all the same games, and you're good to go.
Seeing a couple of comments come through. Let's see, Lopez or Joe says my son is going to want it anyway. We've got some different comments here talking about who would want this, and I think you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be wanting this. I can see this being a huge gift for the holiday season.
Yeah, especially for kids,
especially for kids. Yeah. Yeah, so that's, again, talking about the Nintendo Switch Lite. So another trending topic with Nintendo is another announcement that they made, and it has to do with Mario Kart.
I'm excited for this.
See, I am excited too, but I kind of wish I didn't know about it, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I'll tell you because I'm afraid I'm going to be playing it all the time. So it's Mario Kart Tour. We have a release date announced. This is going to be the mobile game for Mario Kart. There's some example of the gameplay. I already want to dominate everybody with that. Because I know I will, I'm sure, if I put my mind to it, because I was a pretty good Super Mario Kart player. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm just putting that out there.
Just flexing about
just
your Mario
flexing
Kart.
A little bit, yeah. Okay. But this is the announcement. So we have a release date. It's going to be September 25th, is when it's going to be coming out. So this is going to be the mobile game, iOS and Android, right there. Taking a look at it, it looks awesome.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
All of Nintendo's mobile games so far have been excellent.
Yeah.
I've been, I can't remember if I talked about this last time, but I've been obsessed with Dr. Mario on mobile. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, all of the ones they don't put out like these they're not like mini versions of real games. They are like full versions designed for mobile, and they just feel great, and they're really well made, unlike a lot of mobile games out there. So.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and they've had a closed beta going on for a while. And they actually thought this was going to come out earlier, and so it was kind of delayed for a while. But now it is going to be out. So September 25th is the release date when you're going to be able to get your hands on this. And I mean, there's a pre-registration link right now too that you can go to and sign up for it. So that way you can make sure you get it in your hands.
Yeah, they might sell out,
Yeah,
you gotta
out
pre-order
games. But that's where we're looking at right now. I mean, it looks.
I'm wondering about the controls though. Because a big part of a racing game is like your feel for it and like the controls, and with touch, it'll be interesting how they handle that. George,
DT Mario Kart Olympics. More details to come. I'm in on that. That's been long talked about here at Digital Trends. I feel like for years that we were going to have that. We did have one a couple of years ago, but we had guests in
tournament,
IndyCar racers that came in and played.
Oh, right.
I didn't want to embarrass them, so I bowed out early in that competition. That's why, if you see the video of that. But otherwise, I mean, I'm fully on board with this.
Okay, who's your racer? Who's your top choice?
It depends on who my opponent is. I weigh a lot of factors. I got to analyze the stats, but probably Toady. Probably going with Toady.
Okay.
That's probably who it is. So, there's a lot that goes into it. Look, I can't reveal all my secrets on this show.
That's true.
But nonetheless, that is what's happening. DT Mario Kart, or the DT Mario Kart tournament. Mario Kart.
You heard it here first.
So you heard it here. Yeah, I'm throwing down the gauntlet. It is going to be coming out on September 25th, so you can get your chance at that then, and you can pre-register now. All right, continuing on with the trending news topics here in a minute. First, we have to do some Read 'em and Weep.
Oh, no.
This is one of our favorite segments here at Digital Trends, where we take a look at some of the comments that come through across our many, many different platforms, and we analyze them, we take them to heart, we take them very seriously right now, and you get our responses live on the air. Ryan Rich, regarding this laser can clean rust off of metal, but still safe enough not to hurt your skin. But how does it do on math skills? Mine are pretty rusty. Oh. I see where that was going there. Let's see what we got. Luke?
I don't know.
First
about
thoughts.
That one, right? I don't know about that one, Mr. Rich. Sure. Yeah. Good pun. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't even know if I'm going to say that.
Will you allow it, or you're not going to allow it? The rough start.
Yeah, it's a rough start to Read 'em and Weep.
You know, I appreciate the attempt though, because any kind of attempt at that, that's solid. Ryan, thank you for that. It was almost Sam Slaughter-esque, but I mean, Sam's might be a little bit ahead of the game on that, but I think he would appreciate it more than anything else. Jeff.
Oh, this one looks fun.
Regarding Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus review worth the premium price, this review is BS. Just bought this yesterday and the phone doesn't even make it through the day with minimal use. I'm thinking all these reviews are fake paid reviews by Samsung. Oh no! I love how many of these comments are, wait a minute, I disagree with you. You were paid by them.
It's the first thing people go to.
Yeah.
It's the only possible conclusion that someone has a different opinion to me. They must be a paid shill.
You're in the pocket of big tech, aren't you, Luke? Yeah, Jeff, I mean, I could say we weren't paid for the Galaxy Note 10 review.
I think we can safely say that.
We can safely say that. We're very proud of there's no bias in that. But looks like we had a different opinion on that. I mean, I'm going to trust Julian.
I am going to trust Julian.
He does kind of know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's reviewed a lot of smartphones, so I think he has an idea about how good battery life is.
Yeah.
And I think, I wish battery life was better on smartphones in general, but...
Yeah.
I think he knows.
Yeah, he knows. I mean, appreciate your opinion, Jeff, but no, it's not BS. I'm going to disagree with you on that. All right, Jay, regarding this is a VR treadmill that allows you to move inside a VR environment. I have to admit that I'm way too lazy for this. I use my current VR setup laying in bed. I appreciate that honesty, Jay, although, okay, we'll just leave it at that. As far as that kind of a VR setup, though, I love that idea.
The treadmill?
Yes. I am fully on board with that. That is getting closer and closer to a holodeck, which is my ultimate dream technology.
Okay.
And I feel like it's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I do think, though, that it could get tiring.
Yeah.
It could get tiring.
Oh, I mean, I can see it. Yeah, it'd be a workout for sure.
Although, literally, what he's saying is just walking is too too much of a...
Forget about it. I'm just gonna lay in bed, put my VR goggles on. That's why I appreciate the honesty of Jay. I really do appreciate that. But that's what we're looking at there. I am all for this, though. I would love to try this out. You need a big room.
I would want to try it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's you don't need a big room though, because you can move in every direction.
That's true.
The idea.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Any room can be the holodeck.
Blown right now. All right, Ian, from Read 'em and Weep. Let's take a look at what you have to say here. Ian Michael Spencer, regarding this robot, is designed to clean rows of solar panels like a window washer. Robot, you nutter. I have a robot that makes bread. I have a robot that grinds coffee. I never realized how robots had surrounded me, cunningly disguised as domestic appliances. That's how they get you. That is exactly how they get you. It's true.
He is pointing out a good, an important fact, which is that a lot of companies call things robots or AI or whatever that is really just a toaster or or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. How everything now has AI in it.
Yeah, I guess technically it's a robot, but we didn't call them that before now.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I can kind of see this. I'm also seeing Rick, so never saw Transformers. Oh yeah, talking about how robots in disguise everywhere. Yes, that's true. I understand that. That was a good one. It was solid. Luke is very lukewarm.
That went over my head.
All right, Ian Michael Spencer, thank you for that comment. Again, talking about robots being everywhere. I'm telling you, it's true. That's how they're gonna infiltrate everything. Jay's back. Regarding this electric wheelchair can climb up and down stairs, and then suddenly the battery low warning LED starting blinking, and the chair came to a halt mid-flight. But you didn't think of that scenario, did you? Did you, Digital Trends? Jay, you win today.
I like that he's saying it as if we created the wheelchair and didn't think it through all the way.
Did you, Luke? We also create all the products that we talk about. We are the inventors, the creators, all of it. Yes, that's exactly true. Jay, thank you for that comment. And thank you to everybody who comments on all of our different platforms for Read 'em and Weep or any other. It doesn't necessarily have to be for Read 'em and Weep, but just commenting in general. We do appreciate that. And of course, you can comment throughout this show because we are live. And let's continue on live with some other trending tech topics. So the next one we want to bring up is this. BBC, the BBC, the British Broadcasting Company, with all of their vast empire of media outlets, they are going to be launching their own virtual assistant called Beeb. Beeb. is going to be their virtual assistant. And let me explain a little bit more here. Just to give you the backstory on this. So they have consistently taken some of their programming out of different distribution platforms because they feel like they're not getting the statistics that they want. So for podcasts, just a little background, there's an application called TuneIn that they're on. They felt they weren't getting enough stats from that, listener stats, in order to help curate their programming, and it goes on and on with a bunch of different platforms. So what they've decided to do is make their own in-house virtual assistant. And that's what Beeb is going to be. So Beeb is going to be designed for their own apps. So if you have a BBC app or a BBC platform or whatever kind of platforms they're going to be coming out with, then this would work within that to help you find programming on the BBC. Calling it Beeb is the working title that they have right now. So it'd be like, hey Beeb, I want to listen to BBC 4, please, or something like that. For an example, I'm auditioning to be the voice of it. But that's what they're working at. A couple of key things, though, are that part of the reason they want to do this is that they found that a lot of these virtual assistants, which are designed, in some part by Americans with American accents, can't discern between different British accents.
So because we're just like, oh, British they're all
like,
the same.
Yeah, it's all the same. Yeah, no, there's no difference in accents in there. So a lot of times they'll have a hard time understanding what a Scottish person is saying or something like that.
Okay.
So that's what they're looking at. They want one that's going to be designed to understand different accents.
It's interesting. It's just strange that I just can only imagine how much money they poured into creating this thing, and I just have a hard time seeing that this is gonna be a real useful thing for them. I don't know. It seems like at the rate at which smart assistants, like especially Google Assistant, keep getting smarter, it just seems like that's something that they'll eventually be able to
they'll move up to.
Like
where they'll be able to understand the different British accents.
Yeah. And it's all a matter of I'm sure they could do that now. It's just they don't, feel like investing in that or doing that right now or whatever.
Yeah, or it just hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
So this is, again, just what the BBC is doing, developing their own virtual assistant named Beeb that would work within their platform and programming. I mean, another way to look at this, though, is if this is successful within theirs, could you see other companies working on their own virtual assistant, or do you think everybody's just going to kind of adapt to Alexa, Google Assistant?
I think it's a little straight. I don't think when you're going into a separate application or whatever, let's say on your phone, the idea of using a different virtual assistant
having to remember a different
real
name.
Strange, yeah. I mean, are people really spending that much time in the BBC app, or
I mean, maybe. I listen to the BBC News, but that's one thing that I listen to, and I'm not necessarily in their ecosystem a whole lot myself.
And you kind of would have to be in order to really make use of this. But I don't know. It is interesting. My main question is how do British people say the Beeb?
The Beeb
or Beeb? Babe?
Well,
Babe?
We'll have to get Andy Boxall on here to explain this to us of how important this is. So I will not attempt a British accent right now. But yeah, I mean, if you see this successful, could you see other? That's what I want to know. If other platforms would start doing this, do you start seeing it for? Does Disney come up with their own? Does Digital Trends have their own virtual assistant?
Yeah, it's kind of it reminds me of the chatbots that were big, a few years ago. Every site needed to have a chatbot, and then they realize they're stupid and no one uses them and they don't have them anymore. It kind of reminds me of that, oh, you need to I just think people are way more intuitive than that. People don't want to mess around with interface and talking to something. They just want to get to what they want to get to immediately. You know? And that's easy as searching for something or clicking on something right away.
Yeah.
So
going that way. Well, we'll have to see if it takes off or if other people do it. But that is what they're working on right now. So that's the BBC coming up with their own virtual assistant named Beeb. So let us know what you think of that. All right, continuing on with some other trending news topics that we have here at Digital Trends Today to bring you up to date with, and then we have lots of interviews coming up as well. This has to do with KFC joining, not that they didn't already dabble a little bit, but joining in this whole meatless craze for fast food restaurants. And they are partnering up with Beyond Meat today only right now. They're running a test in Smyrna, Georgia, where at one of KFC there, you'll be able to try out their new Beyond Fried Chicken. which Beyond Meat, in case you don't know, they're in a lot of different places now. They've partnered up with Burger King for that Beyond Whopper that is out there. And various other companies too have partnered up with a lot of different fast food chains in order to bring out some more meatless options. This is really the first big foray into chicken.
Yeah, and that we've seen at all, right? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
there's
other
been
than
many-
the stuff you can buy in the store, like meatless chicken nuggets or whatever.
Right.
This is, as far as fast food, I don't think anybody's done chicken.
Right. It's interesting. I mean, it's kind of weird that it's like a test.
Yeah.
'Cause I wouldn't really want to eat it if it's a test, but they're handing it out.
Wouldn't you get the best kind though if it was a test? Or would you just get,
I guess that's
because
true.
they'd want to make sure that it came across well.
Yeah, because it's like they're like handing it out for free, basically, right?
Yeah.
You just get something and then they add it on. So they want to have everyone try it and give them feedback or something.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'd be curious in trying it out. The
I
thing
would
is,
definitely be
you can pretty much put anything in a deep fried, little nugget, and it probably tastes good.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
I mean, if it tastes close enough to chicken, I would definitely eat this.
Yeah.
Like I eat way more chicken than I do burgers.
yeah,
So that the Beyond Burger, I'm probably not going to be getting that too often.
right. But if you can do this with a chicken nugget, you think you could probably do it with some other kinds of chicken.
I am all
that seems like
all for the chicken.
very useful.
Yeah, and this is something that they're testing out again right now in Smyrna, Georgia. Taking a look here, has the pseudo meat been tested, or is it like vaping, which seems to be killing people faster? Oof,
Well,
payment.
like we said, you are the test. That's what they are. They're
This is why Luke doesn't want to try it. And that is referencing an actual thing that came out today about vaping. About there was an issue. There's a guy that passed away from that. I don't know all the details about it, but I get your reference referring to that. I mean, from what everything seems to be, it's all plants that are added in there.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a secret ingredient we don't know about, but I don't think they're pretty open about what they're doing.
Right. I think that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Of it, and I mean, who knows really, like, in terms of health, like how healthy they are, because it is all plant-based, but it's put together in some non-natural way, right?
Right.
So, I mean, there's definitely processing involved in it, a lot.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I can't say that it would necessarily be healthy. What I would be curious about the most is how they do the skin, how that works.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know if
That's true.
If they can pass that, then I think the rest of it, as long as you're somewhat close, I think people will be fine.
Yeah, because really, honestly, does a chicken nugget really taste like chicken anyways?
No, but they're delicious nonetheless. Well, that's what we're looking at. So this is KFC. So they're testing this out today. Again, if you're anywhere near Smyrna, Georgia, and you want to let us know if you went and tried it and if it was good, please send us an email or write us on.
If you're in the drive-thru right now and you're watching this at the same time, please
we'll
tell
take
us
you
what it's
live
like.
right now on the air from the drive-thru at the KFC in Smyrna, Georgia. Let us know. Let us know what you think about that. All right, continuing on, we have one more trending topic before we take a break and get ready for some more interviews. And this is Facebook doing yet another thing. So it has to do with Instagram and a new app that may be coming out called Threads. And Threads serves a couple of purposes for Facebook. One, it's to compete against apps like TikTok and Snapchat, which we already know they've been going after Snapchat, but TikTok is huge among a younger population, and they want to go after that. So what they're going to be doing is it's a new Instagram messaging app. Now, this isn't out yet, but it was actually, to give credit, it was The Verge who actually got a hold of this somehow and was able to test this out. And the way it works is it would essentially give your friends the ability to track wherever you are pretty much at any moment if you opt into it.
Yeah.
Luke, how do you feel about this?
I just like that it's our first, because we know who Facebook is now, it's our first reaction to be like,
It's already skewed.
I can see what you want to do with this.
Right, it's already skewed to where no, you want to take my data and find out where I am all the time.
And I think for a big company like Facebook, it's like they're looking for their next big revenue, big hit in terms of like, how can we sell this data? How can we make money off of this? They're not thinking about what's a way we could revolutionize social media and like bring a really cool concept into the world. Like they don't care about that.
Yeah.
They just want to bring an app in that a lot of people will use they'll be able to either sell data or charge people in a certain way or make money in some way,
Right.
So we have to kind of look at it through that lens.
Looking at it through that lens. And I want to know what people think too, because we are broadcasting live on so many platforms, let us know how you feel about that. But the way that it would essentially work is you can opt in, your close friends would be able to get your tracking data. They would be able to tell how fast you're moving. They would be able to see whatever pictures you post instantly. And the only way that I could see this, for me personally, being beneficial is if you're at like a festival or a giant event where there's a whole ton of people and you want to be able to track where your friend is to be able to meet up with them.
They already have stuff like that. I mean,
there's a lot of ways you can do that.
On iPhone, you can do Find Your Friends or whatever.
Yeah.
You can track people, which is fun. I mean, I think that's probably where they got the inspiration from. It's just like people like being able to do that sort of thing, like with their really close friends or whatever. So who knows? Maybe there is something cool there about it. It's definitely like a new idea. It feels kind of new. I don't know if I've heard of anything like that.
Apparently, you can do something like that through TikTok, and I'm not 100% sure, but that's what their impetus is. That's what they're going after.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what we're seeing there. So you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. What do you think about Instagram's Threads app that may be coming out, where your friends can monitor your every move? For some people, that's probably going to be what
if it's branded Instagram, it'll be a lot higher chances of being successful and not Facebook. So
that is true.
I would suggest going with that.
It's Instagram by Facebook, I believe, is what it's going to be pretty soon.
Threads by Instagram by Facebook.
There it is. All right, well, that's what we have for some trending stories. Luke, thank you very much for joining us here today.
Always happy to join in.
And thank you to everybody who's joining in for this show. We have a lot more coming up, though. In just a little bit, we're going to have Adam Kaslikowski, our automotive editor, joining the show to talk about some of his favorite trending stories from the world of automotive. But up next, we've got double guests who are going to be joining us. We have Mallory Brody and Lauren Lake, both from Bridget, to talk about modernizing the construction industry and everything that they're doing to try to change that up. A really fascinating topic, a lot of stuff we're going to get into. If you have questions or comments you want to bring up, drop those in whatever platform you're on, and we'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you find us. We do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button so you get the notifications when we do go live. And I'm Greg Nibbler, and we like to talk a lot about technology, obviously, here on the show, but we'd also like to talk to people who are changing up industries and utilizing tech to make things better, more efficient, faster, all kinds of things that you can do with that. And we're going to talk to two people right now who are certainly at the forefront of their industry in that respect. And to introduce each of you separately, just to make sure that we get, so that everybody knows who is who, we've got Mallory Brody, who is the co-founder of Bridget and CEO. Hello, Mallory.
Hi there. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. And with you is the COO of Bridget. We have Lauren Lake. Hi, Lauren.
Hi there. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us. So let's get into this. And for everybody who's watching, I want them to get a little bit of a background on what Bridget is and maybe what some of the inspiration was for the founding of the company.
Absolutely. So Bridget is a construction software company. We're 50 people and just based in Kitchener-Waterloo in Canada. We have two products. Our first product is called Bridget Field, and that's for issue tracking and quality tracking on large-scale construction projects. Our second product we just launched in May, and that's called Bridget Bench, and it's to help with resource planning and construction. So if you're a large scale contractor, you have 500 people that you need to place on different projects based on availability, skill set. We help teams really optimize that overall process for their companies.
So, and I feel like that's such an important use of technology when it comes to the construction industry, because you're right, when you have that many people, coordination and efficiency, I would imagine, are huge issues on any kind of a project. How have you seen maybe some specific examples how technology is changing the way the industry works?
Yeah, there's lots of examples. I think one of the biggest surprises is that there's so many simple processes that happen on site or within the general contracting companies that you would assume would have already been digitized, but it's just such a complex industry that there aren't always the specific tools that these companies or these people need. And so by taking a very construction focused approach, we've been able to kind of solve some of these problems that seem obvious but just didn't have a solution before. And so seeing simple things like with our first product, people moving from literally pen and paper over to a simple app to track all their quality control issues. And then with our new product, moving from either a whiteboard and Excel spreadsheet over to a simple online interface.
Nice. So just simplifying and speeding up that process, I would imagine, for somebody who's out there trying to organize a construction site, I would think this would be a huge benefit.
For sure, yeah. And I think mobile, with our first product in particular, we saw a huge transformation in construction when job sites were starting to adopt, bringing tablets on site and have their smartphones. And when we first started, there was just no software that had really been built for those devices. And that was one of the things that we were really trying to do. And now as the construction software industry has started to, further develop, what we're seeing is just a ton of app ecosystems and a lot of integrations between the different products. It's really hard for one software solution to solve every different challenge the construction industry is facing. So we're seeing lots of point solutions that are all integrated, and that's really leading to a more holistic software solution for these larger construction companies.
How have you seen the adoption rate in traditional construction firms? I guess you think of that as, kind of staunch, we're in our ways, this is how we do things, and maybe that's just me with, a stereotype of what you would think the construction industry would be. That may be completely wrong, but how have you seen the adoption rate of these new ideas and new technologies?
The adoption rate has been incredible. I think that's a pretty standard stereotype of construction, people thinking that it is more old school or it's slower to move, and it's really not what we've found. I think the biggest thing was just having the right tools for the job. And if there weren't those available, then of course people had to resort back to the tried and true kind of older school methods. And so especially with the new product, I think we've seen such great adoption the past couple months, even though it is a new product. People have been looking for a solution like this to manage the resource planning within their companies, but just didn't have a construction specific solution until now. So we've seen really excited people and really great adoption.
And in the broader market, we've also seen a couple interesting things. So Autodesk has made a couple massive acquisitions, Trimble. So there's literally been, billions of dollars of construction software acquisitions. Procore, another large player, just raised, over $100 million as an additional round of financing. So we are seeing a ton of capital going into the space, which I think is just an additional proof point that the industry is growing, they're adopting technology, and this is a good market to be in.
That's great. I mean, talking about your company in particular with Bridget, I know there's some unique things with your company that you're proud of, that how you're running it, I guess, is what I want to say. And I kind of wanted maybe if you could walk us through that, specifically some of the things that you're doing with your company.
So I think we've done a couple different things. We don't fit the traditional mold about kind of what you would expect two tech founders in the construction industry to be. Two female founders isn't the average, I guess, that you would expect. But I think it's allowed us to have a different perspective. We've been able to build a really great and diverse team, people from all different backgrounds, different industries, and I think that's allowed a new perspective and a new way of doing things. And so we're really proud to be 50-50 male and female split within the company, and that's over 50 employees, both on our technical team and our business team. And that's just one example of just a bit of a different approach.
Which is not only the right thing to do, but also just a smart business. I mean, the more diversity, the more inclusion you have, I would feel like in a business, the more you're going to be able to adapt to whatever challenges come to you.
It definitely does. And I think the other thing is it really opens up our overall talent pool. So because we have a diverse team, there's so many more networks that we have access to through our team. So we have a really strong referral program, for instance, internally, and that feeds a lot of our recruitment. And rather than, the entire team coming from the same college and having the exact same background and having, everything be the same, everyone is coming from a different place, which means that the hiring process has been a lot faster, which is, of course, something that is good for a business when it comes to scaling.
Especially on the development side, where that's usually a bottleneck for a lot of tech companies. We've been able to recruit a really awesome development team and engineering team. So that's something that we're really proud of.
We have a question that just came through from George. This is on Facebook. How early on in the design process can Bridget be incorporated?
So we're actually focused on mostly during the actual construction versus the design of the building for our field solutions. So that's during active construction. For our resource planning solution, Bridget Bench, that gets used by the business development team as they're pursuing new projects to start planning what people may be a good fit for that project, and then gets taken over by the operations team that would then use it as projects are active and they need to be swapping people or adding more resources to the project. They would use it, but it's not for the design part of the job. So architects and engineers, for instance, would not be the core customers that we would be offering the solution to.
For construction companies that are out there, that want to get involved with Bridget, what would be the best way for them to incorporate some of your technology?
So I think it'd be great if anyone's interested in looking at our Bridget Bench product or Bridget Field product. You can visit our website, www.bridgetsolutions.com, and you can sign up for a demo. We can walk you through the solutions. We can show you how it would work for your company, specifically what your data might look like or how it would work within your current process. And then I think that's a great way to start figuring out what might be the right tool for you.
Well, Mallory and Lauren, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. I mean, it's a real pleasure to talk to you, to find out about how you're running your business. You're at the forefront of something amazing, and congratulations on the success. And again, thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Thanks for having us.
All right, really cool. Finding out about someone who's at the forefront of an entirely changing an industry on how things are operating. So very fascinating, and that's what we get to do here on Digital Trends. We talk to fascinating people about really interesting things in the world of technology and how it's being applied to different industries. Up next, we're going to have Adam Kosakowski on the show to talk about some trending topics in the world of automotive. Some 3 things that he is passionate about. One was his claim that the Honda Passport may be the best car for the apocalypse. We're going to have him explain that and a lot more, all while we're broadcasting live. So drop in your comments, your questions, whatever you want to bring up. Back here in a minute with more DT Live. This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining. Make sure you remember to join us here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, for all the tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions that you can handle. And we have an incredible editorial staff here at Digital Trends that can keep you up to date on so much. And right now, we're going to talk about some automotive news. And in particular, I want this person to answer the question, why a Honda is the perfect car for the apocalypse. That's a brazen title, and I want to know why. Joining us, we have Mr. Adam Kaslikowski. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Greg.
Again, as usual, we'll find out about the car behind you at the end of this interview. But to start off, why is a Honda Passport the car for the apocalypse?
I mean, listen, I understand that the Land Rover Defender is super cool. I understand that a Lexus is big and brawny, but let's be real. Both of those are going to break immediately. A Hummer's never going to make it more than 50,000 miles before exploding its engine. Like, Hondas run on neglect, right? In the apocalypse, you're going to want something that can run on gasoline with sand in it, that you don't change the oil for 15 years. That's a Honda. That's what they do best.
So, in particular, and I'm taking a look at some of the pictures that we have here too with this article that went up. So, you went and tried this. What particular Honda Passport is this one?
So this is the Honda Passport Lifestyle Project. That's the official name. Now, this is just a concept car that Honda made for the overlanding community. It's got a rooftop tent. It had a really cool winch and skid plate. It was built to go off-road, and just basically I took that as, let's go survive the apocalypse in it.
Which makes sense. I also didn't know the term overlanding community until right now. I'm aware of...
It's like camping, but not in camping spots. You just pick a mountain and you drive through overland to get to it. No trails, no roads, no nothing.
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And so you said this is just a concept car. So is this something that we're ever going to actually see?
So the thought from Honda is you can spec your car up this way. You can go to several of its aftermarket partners and put on these bits. You're never going to be able to do this from the dealer. But what they're trying to prove is our car is good off-road and in challenging circumstances.
Well, you can read more about that. I want to try it out, to be honest. So you can read more. I want to find out more about the overlanding community. But you can find out more about this article at digitaltrends.com. You can read into that. That is one of the many ones that are up. Let's move on to another topic. This has to do with the 2020 Olympics. With Japan hosting them, they are pushing technology in a ton of different directions for this upcoming Olympics. Some of it I think might work, some of it may not, but we're going to talk about specifically, I believe it's the what Toyota is doing with them.
Yeah.
So
the 2020 Olympics are in Tokyo, Japan. This is the home turf of Toyota and Honda, Toyota specifically, right? So what they're doing for the Olympics is they're bringing out a whole slew of their electric cars, their hydrogen cars, and what I think is most interesting is they're going to escort the Olympic flame with an autonomous vehicle. This is a world first.
Wait, so instead of actually somebody running it up, it's just going to be an autonomous vehicle carrying the torch?
No. So someone's still going to be running it, but that runner is going to be escorted by a driverless car.
Wow. Okay, that's going to be an interesting use of it. So,
Yeah.
so they're going to be incorporating that part into it, and then I know you mentioned just them showing off, their electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles. What other kinds of things will we see at the Olympics in association, with this Toyota partnership?
So in the athletes' villages, we're going to see their electric cars, their hydrogen cars. I really suspect we're going to see their driverless shuttles as well, because the Olympic parks and the athletes' villages are set routes. They're probably going to put some sort of autonomous vehicle there for the athletes and the press to use and obviously cover and enjoy. I also would not be surprised if we see some of Toyota's robots. There was nothing in the announcement yet about that, but come on, Toyota loves their robots. They're going to be showing those off too.
Oh, yeah, I guarantee there's going to be some kind of robotics that'll be involved in that. You mentioned just really quick the hydrogen side of it. So they're going to showcase some hydrogen cars at this?
Yeah, Toyota is still betting a significant amount of cachet and money on their hydrogen program, even though everyone seems to be going electric. So Toyota is going to use this as an opportunity to bring out their hydrogen fleet, which is very Japan specific right now, and kind of show off like, look, we have this technology too that has some bonuses over electric and some deficits.
That'll be interesting to see how it works out, just to see a side-by-side comparison of those two. I would definitely be into checking more of that out. But that's just some of what Toyota is doing at these upcoming 2020 Olympics. Let's go on to another company at the forefront of electric vehicles, Tesla, having an interesting run of it over the last little bit. Can you walk us through some of the things going on with Tesla?
Yeah, it's been a really bad month for Tesla. August has been the month where everyone comes out and sues them. So they have 4 major lawsuits filed against them just this month, right? We're finally in the last week of August. They've already got 4 major lawsuits, one of them class action. This is a really bad week for them.
What are some of the lawsuits that are happening?
So one of the biggest ones is a class action that claims that Tesla did a software update, and that was to prevent the fire I think we saw, or an explosion and a crash. So Tesla sent a software update, and the plaintiffs are alleging that software update totally killed their range. It shrunk it by almost 50 miles, which is, that's a big chunk of a 250-mile range in a car. So that's probably the biggest one. The second biggest one is a clash between titans. It's Tesla versus Walmart.
That's huge. And that has to do with those Solar City panels. Is that what it was? Or the Tesla solar panels?
Yeah, that's totally correct. So they signed a deal a couple of years ago where Tesla put a whole bunch of solar panels on 264 or 250-ish Walmarts right on top to power the stores, or at least power part of them. Well, at least 5 of those systems have caught on fire and caused millions of dollars of damage. So now Walmart is suing Tesla for gross incompetence in installing those panels.
That's not a good look. No matter how you see this, how is Tesla responding?
Well, first of all, Walmart is suing for damages and the removal over those 250 stores. This is going to be super expensive. Tesla hasn't really responded too forcefully. They stand behind their product. They're doing everything they can to work with Walmart. Just general hand waving. Nothing too strong right now, but I really suspect this one's going to be settled. I don't think either company want to look like the bad guy here. So this one will kind of fade away, but still, it's one more thing for Tesla to deal with this month.
So that's a lot that's going on that Tesla's got. And we've got details about all of that too at digitaltrends.com that people can go take a look at if you want to read into it. Well, I know that we need to find out behind you right now, what kind of car are you standing in front of today, Adam?
So this is a 1966 Ferrari 330 GTC 2+2 in a stunning bronze. This came from Monterey Car Week, and we were displaying it. It is gorgeous.
Wow. So somebody actually owns that vehicle that you're standing in front of.
Well, why can't it be me? Why can't it be my car?
I mean, I assumed it was yours. I assumed that someone is
It
you.
didn't sound like you assumed that at all.
I assume this is your personal garage that we see every time. Let's just keep that rumor going. These are Adam's Adam's personal car collection that he's got right there. That is an amazing car. Do you get to ride in it?
No comment.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to leave it at that before we get anybody in trouble. All right. Well, Adam, as always, thank you for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. We'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, Greg.
I think clearly we all need to be at the Japan 2020 Olympics broadcasting Digital Trends Live from there if there's going to be robots. I mean, it just kind of makes sense. I'm just putting that out into the ether. All right, we need to take a break because coming up, we are going to talk about some more robotics, and we're going to talk about the evolution of the parcel delivery industry. And we have a huge guest that's going to be joining us. We have Gina Chung, who is the head of research and innovations for DHL Americas. That's for DHL. So we're going to talk about what they're doing currently, how tech is changing it, where robotics are going. I know people are going to have questions, so if you want, you can drop those in there now. I'll try to make sure that we ask Gina those questions. Let's take a break, get her on the line. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for watching. We are broadcasting live, which means we can take your comments and questions as we go through the show. So drop those in there if you have any you want to ask. And I know I have plenty to ask of my own. We love talking about cutting edge technology here, and in particular, the delivery industry in general, and however you want to look at that, seems to be really at the forefront of technology and how it's changing, how we get our packages, how things are being handled, all the way from order all the way to your door, or however you end up getting it. And it's so exciting to talk to somebody who is really at the forefront of that. Joining us right now, we have Gina Chung, who is the head of research and innovations for DHL Americas. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Greg. Hi, everyone. Very excited to be on the show today.
I have so many questions I want to ask you, but to start off, I thought maybe we could just do a little bit for anybody who just needs, and I mean, I'm sure everybody knows who DHL is, but just needs just a quick explanation of what DHL's main mission is, and then going from there, how technology is being utilized right now in the industry, and we'll go on from there.
All right, perfect. So DHL, we're one of the world's largest and leading logistics companies. So our mission is to connect people and improve lives through the logistics services that we provide across the supply chain.
So providing all of those logistics, which is huge. I mean, DHL is an enormously huge company, and that's a lot of data and a lot of different aspects that you have to manage and work on to ensure that everything's working smoothly. I mean, that's a huge operation. So how right now, say like maybe over the last 5 years, how have you seen technology change the way things are managed and the approaches that DHL is taking? And then we'll go into talking about the future of it.
All right, sure. So I always like to say that the logistics industry, at the heart of what we do, it's all about finding the right product, getting the right product to the right location at the right time in the right condition. And there's a couple of key technologies that help us do that, help us plan our operations more efficiently, help us pick and pack those orders more efficiently, as well as do the final last mile delivery. So we're looking at ways that technologies can enhance the way that we provide logistics for our customers, everything from utilizing more analytics to move to a more predictive way of forecasting, to robotics, to automate some of the very labor-intensive processes that we have in our operations, to utilizing more connectivity downstream in the supply chain to know what our consumers want, what our customers want, and enabling more flexible last mile delivery options.
So utilizing all that, I mean, that's a lot that you just said right there. That's a lot of aspects to work on. So just kind of picking out a couple of those, talking about the data and using maybe some predictive algorithms or utilizing all of that data that you're able to gather and harness. We live in this era of big data. Like, how is this something that DHL is utilizing? And maybe we can get an example of how that would actually smooth that process along.
Sure. So yeah, it's true. In the logistics industry, we produce a lot of data. The biggest challenge that we have, or actually any logistics company in the industry has, is that we work with many different systems across the supply chain. There needs to be a lot of connectivity and connections between different systems. A lot of the times, the data quality isn't as high as it needs to be to really drive analytics. So for us as DHL, we've been investing heavily into pulling together our data, cleansing it, having more driving more access to data. And some of the use cases that we're working on is leveraging big data to predict when we believe flights will be delayed and replanning our operations based on that. We're utilizing analytics to predict or give more accurate time windows for our customers so that we can be even more precise in when we're delivering products to your front door.
Wow, that's incredible. To be able to predict when a flight is going to be delayed, and I imagine with all of those different flights that you're working with, you've been able to figure that out. That's amazing. Talking about the robotics side, let's go into that and how robotics is changing the industry. We hear a lot about different companies, automating warehouses or automating services like this. How is DHL utilizing robotics right now?
Sure. So robotics is a really hot topic, especially in one part of our business where we deliver warehousing services for our customers. So in the hundreds of facilities that we have here in North America, we're looking at the ways that robotics can be used to collaborate together with our workforce to automate, long walking distances is one example in the warehouse. So autonomous mobile robots that can shuttle, heavy pieces of freight from A to B or to different points in the warehouse. We've been looking at robotics and implementing robotics that enable us to automate the pick and pack of very heavy products, very repetitive process in the warehouse. So we're basically looking at where does robotics make sense today, given the maturity of the technology, but there's a lot of different applications just within our warehousing business.
What are some of the key trends in the industry right now, as far as just the industry as a whole, that are driving innovation? Is it just the advent of all of this new technology, the fact that you can analyze all this data, that some of the robotics are available, or is it being driven from something else?
So we always say innovation is not technology, although the robots always look cool. So the real driver of innovation in the industry at the moment, if I had to pick one trend, it would be e-commerce. So everything that's happening with e-commerce supply chains, the need for faster delivery, cheaper delivery, more convenient options when it comes to last mile, that's really driving the pressure to automate our operations because we have to rely on some of these automation technologies to be able to even pick and pack your order efficiently to get it out the door.
Well, looking at it from the angle of e-commerce and how people are changing, what they're buying, there's also the change in how they're buying. You see IoT, you see, all of these different technologies that are being incorporated in different ways that we hadn't imagined, and a lot of them end up being to buy things online. How is that influencing the industry? And maybe we can take a look at the future of where you think things might be going.
Yeah, I mean, consumers drive the change, right? So it's always customers drive the disruption. So you can see now, especially here in the US, consumers want products delivered as soon as possible, as efficiently as possible for their end. So we're innovating across all different areas of the supply chain. But just one change for us that we've experienced is that, to be able to pick your orders in one warehouse, all the different items, package that, it requires a lot of different planning, it requires a lot of labor. So instead of, for example, in the past, we just deliver a pallet of products to a shop, we now have to do that intensive picking in our operations to fulfill these e-commerce orders.
Wow. Yeah, that's so much work to collaborate all of those different service centers to get that individual order. And I think for a lot of people out there, you kind of forget that there's a lot behind being able to do that selection and get that specific order that you want. And you're certainly at the forefront of all of that. Where do you think in 5 years, what do you think the typical way will be that somebody will order a package?
In 5 years, so I think in a 5 years time, a lot of the services will become even more customized. So when you order, it's not just about, a 2-day window or 1-day window. I think, first of all, you can pick exactly, when you want your product to be delivered or your order. You can pick the exact location, and it's going to be delivered on time.
Wow, it's such an exciting time to see all of this being incorporated in and see where it's going to go. And Gina, thank you so much for joining us to talk about all of this. It's just so exciting to see what's going to be happening, and really appreciate your time joining the show. And thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Great, my pleasure. Thanks.
That's amazing. So that's really fun to talk. That's somebody who's at the forefront of how we're getting our packages, how things are being delivered. I mean, head of research and innovations. That's pretty cool. And that's right here on Digital Trends Live. So let's take a quick break. We're going to come back with some more news. I have some technology firsts that we're going to talk about. There's 3 of them that are trending right now. So we'll talk about that. 3 kind of different stories, but it's all firsts in technology in their own respective ways. Then we'll have another interview. All of this while we're broadcasting live. So drop in your comments, your questions, whatever you want to bring up. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And you're watching Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining. We're live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. So whatever platform you're on, we're always going to be here bringing you tech news, headlines, and interviews. And we seriously thank everybody who joins us here every day. We've got another great interview coming up here in just a few minutes. But before that, let's talk about some technological firsts. Earlier, we were speaking to Gina Chung, Head of Research and Innovations for DHL Americas, talking about the way things are changing on how we get packages delivered. And there are a lot of companies that are working on how you get that package delivered to your house. And a lot of that has to do with drones. drones are certainly something that a lot of companies are working on. You know, UPS is doing it. We know the Postal Service was thinking about it. We've got Amazon who's working on it. Well, there's a company that's also working on some of the bigger packages, and that is Bell. Bell, if in case you don't know who they are, they're at the forefront of a lot of innovation when it comes to aerodynamics, when it comes to flying vehicles. They're at the forefront for a lot. They work a lot with the military. This has to do with some autonomous cargo drones that they've been working on. And here's what it is. They completed a first flight for one in particular they've been working on for a while. This is called the Autonomous Pod Transport 70, or APT-70. It's a 180 centimeter tall vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. That's kind of key. That's what a lot of these are going to be, is the VTOL, VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing, because it just makes it way more adept. Taking a look at that one right there, as we watch it flying, there's a unique thing that it just did right there. So you saw it turn on its side, and that's how they're trying to utilize this drone to get it over a lot longer distances. So right now, it can reach a top speed of 100 miles per hour. You can see how big that is. That's huge. That's a huge drone. I mean, that's bigger than that guy who was just standing right there. So it can travel at a top speed of 100 miles per hour. It can reach a range of 18 miles on a single charge. 18 miles on a single charge. When you think about that in the context of delivering packages across a city, 18 miles should definitely get you where you need to go. Or to picture that going from maybe a warehouse facility to a separate place where it's then dispersed out within a neighborhood. And that's kind of what they're looking at with this. So it's a quadcopter. This test flight was at Bell's base in Fort Worth, Texas. This is the first time they were able to test this. And that key thing that they're looking at is how it can switch to a 90-degree angle and then use a propulsion system to push it forward. So that's pretty amazing. In the center there is the where they can carry the packages, and that's up to 70 pounds of material can go into that they can carry at 100 miles per hour up to 18 miles. Pretty incredible what they're doing with that, and that's something that Bell is working on. So again, talking about cargo delivery drones and how cargo could be delivered to us or within a city. Right now, they can't really put this out into the general market because we're waiting for regulations to follow through. I mean, if you're going to have a drone that can carry 70 pounds and it's going 100 miles per hour over the heads of people, you want to make sure the regulations are in place for how to handle that, because that's a lot to fall on someone. But the idea of it is pretty amazing, and you see all these different companies working on it. So this is Bell with their solution for maybe bringing a lot of packages at one time across the city and how it could be utilized. They still think that it could be in the workplace within a couple of years. They have another big test that's going to be going on next year with it, but this is a first for them, this first test flight showcasing that it is possible with their new drone. Pretty cool stuff. You can read more about it at digitaltrends.com. All right, we've got a few firsts that we want to talk about today. A few firsts in technology. And let's go to this next one. It has to do with the United States Air Force and something they've been testing for a long time. And it's a very somewhat secretive space plane that the U.S. Air Force has. I'm serious, it's a space plane. It's designed by Boeing. We know a little bit about it. We know what it looks like. We know when it was launched, and we know where it's been. We don't exactly know what it's doing or what it's been doing, but nonetheless, we know a little more about it. So it's called the X-37B space plane, and this is designed by Boeing, and there's kind of a representation of what it is. You can see this is actually a Boeing video that came out showcasing some of it. It looks a lot like a mini space shuttle. It looks a lot like that, and it kind of works in a similar way. So this is autonomous, at least as far as we know. There's nobody in that thing. And this Orbital Test Vehicle 5, so this one in particular was the OTV-5 that we're talking about, launched on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket in September of 2017. So 2 years ago, 717 days ago, to be specific, was when this was launched. And now it is, or 718 days, excuse me, was when it was launched. And now it is back and landing. So what that is, the first part of that, the first in technology of what our theme is that is the longest that one of these has ever been. So it's broken its own record for time spent in low Earth orbit. And that's 718 days, launched up there, encircled the globe for 718 days, and then they merely triggered it to land, and it returned from orbit, landed. It lands like the space shuttle, so it lands horizontally, launches vertically, lands horizontally, and was up there that entire time. What they say that they're working on with this thing is that it's going to be able to carry out space tests, scientific tests, things they're probably not telling us about, and it's going to be able to do that since it can stay up there that long. They can have constant contact with it. We can really run a lot of things, and since there's no humans on there, it certainly cuts down on the logistics of keeping something in orbit that long. You don't have to bring somebody, supplies up there. It can just run all of this autonomously while it's there. You can trigger it to come back down. Pretty amazing technological achievement. Again, that's Boeing's plane, working in conjunction with the Air Force. Obviously, the Air Force is running the tests, but that is the X-37B orbital test vehicle, and it has re-entered and has landed now, breaking its own record. And it sounds like, based on what some of the previous tests have done, that's not the first time it's gone in, but every time it goes a little bit longer. I'm going to guess the next time we're going to reach like 800 days, and who knows, maybe there's a permanent one that stays up there. We don't even know, but it's just the fact that they can send it up, bring it back down so easy, and reuse the spacecraft. Pretty incredible. And once that technology rolls down to something that we can utilize in the commercial industry or the consumer industry, that's where we'll see some of that come through. But really cool tests that they have going on right there. All right, first in technology story that we have here, and then we're going to take a break and we'll bring our guest on. Maybe we'll just roll straight into our guest. We may not even take a break. But this is the other topic that we wanted to bring up. And I talked about this earlier last week, and it was the Russian Soyuz spacecraft, and one that they were launching to dock with the International Space Station. Something particular with this one is that it didn't have a human pilot, also autonomous, and it had a robot in it, the Skybot, we'll talk about the Skybot here in a second. But this is something they were launching the first time they've ever launched this autonomous vehicle. This autonomous Soyuz craft is kind of a seminal Russian spacecraft. They've used these for all kinds of things. They're getting ready to do some upgrades to that. But they wanted to send one up and see if they could have it dock autonomously with the International Space Station. And they launched successfully. They got it up into space successfully. Weren't really docking very successfully. They tried and failed. And there's some actual video from the International Space Station, I believe, of them trying to get it. I know it's a little bit grainy, but hey, it's space. What are you going to do? And they were finally successful in attaching this and launching it just yesterday. So this is the Soyuz MS-14, an unpiloted spacecraft, and it docked at the space station yesterday. Well, yesterday, depending on when you're watching this, it docked on August 26th. So about a week after it launched, or 5 days after it launched. This is a big achievement because it did do it on its own. It had to have a little bit of help with some humans in moving one of the other spaceships over so it could line up with the right dock. But now that it's there, they're also unloading their Skybot robot, which is one of the robots that Russia's been working on for a long time. This autonomous robot is going to be there at the space station, helping out astronauts and cosmonauts in doing some basic tasks, some things that it can actually handle. The robot's capable of handling a lot of things, including shooting a gun. We've seen video of that before. Don't think it's bringing any weapons onto the spacecraft this time. But that is something that they're doing. And then what's going to happen, it's going to be up there for a few days, and then they're going to send it back in that spacecraft and land it back, just to demonstrate that they can do it. I'm taking a look at different ways that we can bring supplies up to the space station, and who knows, future space missions with that autonomous vehicle. Pretty cool technological achievement. And that's what I wanted to tell you about here, were some firsts in technology for this part of Digital Trends Live. All right, let's continue on with the show. We have more to talk about, and we're going to have a special guest joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Digital Trends Live. We do broadcast live every weekday here at Digital Trends, so hit that subscribe button wherever you're at to make sure you get the notifications of when we go live. But joining us right now, we have Dan Goldsmith, the CEO of Instructure. Dan, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Hey, Greg. Good morning. Good to meet you. Happy to be here.
And I'm happy to have you on here because I'm really excited to talk about how tech is changing, in particular education, how people are changing the way that we're learning. But to give everybody some background, could you tell us about what Instructure is, and then we'll go forth with talking about how it's kind of changing and how the industry's changing.
Awesome. And just like a lot of industries, I think education even more so is fundamentally changing with technology. So excited to jump in. But at Instructure, our mission is to help people grow from their first day of school to last day of work. In fact, education is one of the most universal industries out there. It touches everyone across the globe in every corner of the globe. And Instructure for the last 10 years has been innovating through the cloud with solutions that help teachers and students in the classroom and helping professionals, employees, and managers and companies out there in the real world as well.
So kind of connecting everyone together utilizing technology.
Yeah, this is, when you talk about connections of technology, technology really follows a lot of the trends of innovation and the needs in education and the professional world. So when we think about the educational experience that I had when I was younger, or what you may have had at Oregon State. By the way, Oregon State uses all of our applications and solutions. So if you went back there today, it would be very different. But the largest growing population of students today is actually the professional worker. So those are the people needing to be upskilled and to grow and get access to education, while at the same time, the traditional educational experience, the 4-year degree or the K through 12 experience are changing. And a lot of that change is predicated or supported by technology. It's an exciting time.
Great research on that for Oregon State, but also just talking about how that's changing. So you're talking about how K through 12 is changing with this technology. What are some of the trends that you're seeing in particular with that?
Yeah, there's really two primary things when you look at K through 12, and it sort of starts with this idea that students in K-12 today are going to be entering a work world someday that doesn't even exist. And so the remit, the challenge for K-12 organizations, how do you prepare students? How do you prepare child for that world that doesn't exist yet? Jobs that aren't in the workplace. So that's one fundamental trend that all these institutions are dealing with. And then the other thing is education with students has a higher turnover rate than just about every other industry. We graduate a whole generation every single year, which means that the expectations of the student continue to evolve at a rapid pace. So what students at a very young age are experiencing with technology outside of the classroom, they're expecting that experience to be mirrored in the classroom with teachers as well. So technology has to keep pace around how we communicate with each other, student to student, student to teacher, teacher to parent, et cetera. And that's probably the biggest challenge in K through 12, where there's the most change throughout those formative years.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that, just how much it's changing, it's a really interesting point. Yeah, the workforce doesn't exist yet that they're going to be a part of. And because all of this is changing so fast, I mean, every day, every year, it's different on how we interact with the world and how commerce is working. You mentioned the three different components there, and I noticed there's a term that you use called the 3 legs of the stool. Can you tell us what that means and how that's important, and how that aspect of communication is changing?
So education has become much more of a social endeavor as well. So when you talk about the role of the parent, the role of the teacher, and the role of the student, that's where technology is providing an interconnectivity and a scaffolding like it never has before. You think about all the teacher demands and what they need to support with more limited resources. You think about parents with hectic work schedules, 2 parents working in a household, and then you think about students not only balancing the academic work and burden that they have, but also the outside of school activities. And so technology is supporting this. For example, one of our K through 12 schools is utilizing video-based technology like we're using here for virtual parent-teacher conferences. And they're able to display digital examples of students' work. They're able to converse with parents. They're able to bring multiple parties on board. And that creates a high level of accessibility and utilization of technology to communicate. Additionally, student-to-student communication in both K-12 and higher ed is super important. The support networks of students advising, tutoring, and helping each other is under-supported today. In fact, my daughters use text messaging and Snapchat to sort of share information and get help with each other, and that's a very unlevel playing field. So solutions like we provide, Canvas and others, create that scaffolding for students, teachers, and parents to communicate much more efficiently and effectively with each other.
I think that accessibility aspect that you just mentioned, that's really, really important, because if you can bring advice and teacher-parent conferences to somewhere where maybe somebody can't always get there to be in the classroom and bridge that gap, that's just got to be a huge advantage for students and for the teachers and everybody involved.
It's huge. And actually, along those lines, we work in different environments where access to education is extremely limited. So you have underserved populations that may work in a rural area that has limited connectivity, limited technology. We're working with institutions such as Utah State University, where they have mobile classrooms and virtual classrooms, where they're probably within 98% of a face-to-face like experience created through these virtual classrooms. And part of their sort of state grant or remit is to make sure education is accessible to everyone within the state.
That's great. I mean, that's such an important issue to help out people. And I mean, it sounds like tech is really bridging a lot of gaps in a lot of ways. Where do you see this going, say, in the next few years? You know, with all of this new technology coming out, cloud computing, and different ways that we can connect to each other, how do you think it's going to change the way that education's looked at, or education tech works?
Yeah, so it's a great question. There's really three primary things that I think are going to fundamentally change in education throughout the continuum of education, whether that be in those K-12, higher ed, or your professional worker. And we're challenged today, especially in this country, where 40% of college students actually earn a degree in 4 years. A lot of people don't know that challenge, and part of it is people finding their foothold in education, people understanding what career path they want to take, and being able to navigate education in the right way. So first and foremost, the trend that we're going to see in the coming years is a fundamental shift in curriculum and a focus on academic institutions taking on accountability to develop applicable skills to the workplace. And that's happening as a large trend and focus for higher ed right now, is not only how can I produce students with sort of degrees in traditional learning, but how can I ensure that what students are graduating with is more applicable to the work world. The second thing is we're going to see sort of a flip of the roles of teachers and students, where you're going to see more of a network of advisory and tutoring and sort of social learning. When I walk into a classroom today, it's fascinating. Every single student has their laptops open. They're collaborating with each other, and the teachers are more the conductors, like an orchestra, rather than sort of your traditional learning environment. So that's the second trend that we're going to continue to see. And then there's a big trend that we see around content and content delivery. We see traditional publishers in the content space, like we all experienced growing up with textbooks. We're going to see much more fluid and dynamic content available to help produce and deliver skills to students of all ages. We're working with organizations like Microsoft and Amazon. We just made a big announcement with Apple, where their whole Swift programming for all is available through Canvas to all those schools. So we're going to see content coming from a lot of different non-traditional places.
And that seems like that would just be so important, you know, to see not only these organizations willing to adopt, you know, the new technology, but also to adapt as things constantly change, as we're seeing. So if they can get constantly updated materials, not like, you know, our old textbooks where it's, all right, that's the textbook for 5 years. No, getting constantly updated information. That's just so huge.
It is. And I'd be remiss if I didn't try and touch on the robot concept. You've been talking a lot about robots this morning, and just like a lot of industries, there's interesting opportunities that as we expect education to scale, that data and insights and predictive models will play more and more of a key role. So that's one of the things that we view as part of Instructure's responsibility, being one of the larger players in the ed tech space, is how do we partner with educational institutions to build more predictive models and create a more personalized experience for students and assist teachers in sort of that artificial intelligence way to improve outcomes, drive effectiveness, and drive mastery of different learning throughout the educational continuum.
Well, Dan, what an exciting field to be in, and you know it's got to be exciting to know that you're changing the way that people are changing and helping people to learn in better, more efficient ways, and training this future. You know, these students who are going to go into a world that we don't even know what it's going to look like yet, but they'll be prepared because we're going to be at the forefront of technology. For people who are out there, how can they find out more about Instructure and learn more about your company?
So we have over 30 million students and teachers using our solutions today, but go to Instructure.com. We're an awesome company having a lot of fun impacting people's lives day in, day out. So I love my job. I love this company. We're doing awesome things. Thank you.
Well, Dan, we love you being here on Digital Trends Live. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Really, really fascinating discussion about this.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Greg. You take care.
You too. All right, that's just really interesting, finding out where education is changing, because that's so important. I mean, you think about how we're all educating ourselves here every day, especially with this show. how's it going to look in the future? You know, how do you build a base to where you can adapt to technologies, and that's kind of what we're looking at right there. So a huge thank you to Dan for joining the show. And we had a lot of amazing guests here on the show today. I want to say thank you to Luke Larson, who joined us here at the very beginning of the show. Luke, fantastic, talking about KFC and their new meatless chicken that's debuting in Smyrna, Georgia. If you're in Georgia, let us know if you tried it out. Also on the show, Mallory Brody, CEO and co-founder of Bridget, along with Lauren Lake, the COO of Bridget, talking about modernizing the construction industry and how technology is being utilized in that aspect. Adam Kasikowski, our automotive editor, bringing us up to date on everything that went on with that. Gina Chung, head of research and innovations for DHL Americas. A really, really fascinating discussion talking about IoT and automation. And then Dan Goldsmith from Instructure, the CEO at Instructure. So really great show, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's joining us here on the show. Thank you to Jess Serba as well. These are some great guests today. Seriously, amazing. So thanks for that. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of hard work that goes into making this show happen, and we always like to make sure that it's that's fun for all of us here on the show. And that's it. No thanks to anybody else. I know behind the scenes, everybody's getting all upset right now. Thank you, Jake, Kelsey, Ethan, and even Evan, too, behind the scenes. So, and again, this is Digital Trends Live. We're here every single weekday, broadcasting live. And thanks for joining us. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be back tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.